We've got the first production meeting today for Bon Jovi.
Welcome everybody to Tait Towers.
We're having to invent some stuff to make this happen. The columns that are coming from the air, the columns that are coming from the ground, to make them telescope at this speed, come in and come out, it's tough.
The hexagons that we're building are going to be video mapped upon.
First thing you have to do is align your projectors to the thing and find your focus. So one of the challenges, we have things in multiple planes.
Everyone was very confident that they could focus multiple projectors on one plane. Nobody had taken into account the fact that we had 4 different planes.
Is our current paradigm really the right way to do it?
Spike, as a designer, made a compromise on his design. In the span of 25 minutes, we had kind of redesigned the show.
There's not going to be a lot of Christmas and New Year's around here. It's going to be work, work, work.
Now he wants those to go against the back wall, take the shrouds off, and essentially use them like Ziplos.
Just in, plan 12.
Now we're faced with the horrible situation of having to build the entire show far more quickly than we would like to be able to build the show.
Currently, machine shop is one of our log jams.
900 of the 1,200 parts were made incorrectly.
Right now we're running double shift. Maybe we'll switch to triple. Anything to do to just keep parts moving 24/7.
We're making 90 machines. There's a winch with a cable reel, and a tower. Those are the 3 basic building blocks to this show.
Our job is to make sure that they can take it on their own. If they need us to go to the first few legs of the show with them, then we've essentially failed.
Tait Towers started here in America in about 1979. It was a lighting company at first, and it kind of morphed into a staging company, but it grew exponentially.
Tait Towers has always represented the best in the business.
What we're building either enables the show to happen or not. We thrive on complications.
25 years ago, musicians were making money selling records. Now they're making money selling seats. And that's why we're making stage sets.
Like any organization, we have our moments, we have our drama.
It's full on because there's a deadline that we're up against all the time. There's no showing up a day late.
In this business, you're only as good as your last show. We're fortunate enough to be here for the new Because We Can tour for Bon Jovi. We have been fortunate enough to have been working for the band for close to 30 years, building all of their stages as usual this year. We are pushing the envelope of technology and innovating something that will blow mostly everybody's mind once they see it.
It's 10:30 in the morning. We're loading into the Mohegan Sun Casino. Elkisville is our first show of the tour. Today we have 17 trucks being unloaded with tour gear and just basically everything that we need to get through rehearsals into the first show. The markings on the floor are what we call mark out. It's when the riggers mark out all their points on the floor, which equate to the rigging in the roof, so we know where we have to hang points to be able to hang the show.
So Jesse was groomed and weaned on Bon Jovi. It's his upbringing.
First tour I did with them, I was the last guy on the audio crew, and then the next tour, I became the production assistant. Under me is a stage manager who basically deals with the trucks, the stage hands, unloading, loading, cases coming into the venue, cases coming out, storage, everything in and around the stage.
Mike Devlin's got quite a history with all of us, and he's a giggle.
What are some of the qualities someone needs to have to do what you do?
I guess bad luck.
Now we're loading all the cases in, and as soon as we get all the rigging cases in, we start rigging. And then once we get the rigging done, we move on to actually hanging the parts of the show.
Every building's roof steel is different.
You feel incredibly safe when you're doing a Mike Farisi show.
I adapt my rigging to make the show be the same in every venue.
Farisi and I have been talking for like the last week, making sure we're both happy with what we're doing, so obviously we don't bend the building or hurt anybody.
Most people probably wouldn't notice that, but if you look up at 150,000 pounds of shit hanging from the air, it looks pretty slim up there.
In the old days, we didn't have lasers, we had to do it by eye. But as you get older, it's a lot easier to have a little look-at-me finger pointing up in the air.
We've been working on the stage for 2.5 hours. We should be wrapping it up soon. We're a little behind.
Right now we're putting together the downstage truss. Everything's getting pushed together, all the carts getting pushed together, the truss is getting pinned together, and all of the automation stuff and the lighting stuff is all getting plugged in. Once all that's done, we'll float it, and Rob's going to do a bump check on all the winches to make sure all the winches are working.
My role is in charge of all the motion for the show, but a lot of the actual setup, especially on these lighting trusses, we're turning over to them, so we're trying to teach them what gets plugged in, what doesn't get plugged in, that sort of thing. And so phone calls have been made. So it's going well.
It takes a little time just for Rob to get everything hooked up and ready to move. He's confirming everything is wired before he sends it up, but then he has to come back and verify everything.
Welcome to the world of 40K projectors. So these guys have to basically converge all of them and line them up properly, and that's why we have all the laser pointers on them, because we have to get the right distance from the projectors to the screen, or it doesn't work the way we want it to.
And we're going to start lining up the projectors using a test pattern. And once that test pattern is perfectly aligned, then we know we can send it up.
Don't worry, it's not a laser.
It's about midnight, and the load-in seems to be going fairly well, except for part of this back wall. It has some columns that are a little wonky, to say the least. So right now we're kind of going through those and attempting to fix them.
We are going to roll the stage right now.
Heading in now. This is the first time it's all coming together. Besides every individual component working, you have to learn how everyone works together to get this up as soon as you can.
There's a lot of challenges in this particular show because there's a bunch of companies that have come together to do something as a team for the first time, and there's an insane time crunch.
The load-in seems to be going fairly well, except for part of this back wall. It has some columns that are a little wonky, to say the least.
In the construction of those hex columns, there was some hardware that didn't have Loctite in it, so the fasteners will vibrate out in the truck. So the stuff had to go back to the shop, and every single fastener in one of those, in each column, had to be redone with Loctite, which is like some Gucci shit you put in there. It's almost like a crazy glue for nuts and bolts. Doom, Loctite. Went to our shop, 30 people attacked it, nobody gave it any love, they just fixed the problem. And in the process of fixing the problem, whatever tweaks had been done previously were null and void, and now it's back here, you know, needing love and attention and tweaking to get it refined and tuned.
Yeah, so what happened here is that one of these polycarbonate pieces snagged upon this top edge and caused this panel to bend and deformed the piece beyond repair. And then ended up tearing the fabric as well, so we're just gonna swap it out for a new one. There's an edge somewhere that it's hitting that we're having trouble controlling, and it slams it on the top. It continues to pull upward, so it's gotta go somewhere. It's layered in. Each of these panels is the same, and as they suck up into each other, it's actually expanding the stage above it, kind of like a snake eating a mouse. So even though it's inside of it, there is a bit of a protrusion as it's getting sucked up. So we think it's actually enough of a protrusion where it's able to catch. I got a whole replacement shroud down here.
Is that going to take longer than that?
For whatever reason, that winch has lost its starting position.
Is that going to take longer than that?
I think that's going to take longer than that. We're going to work on that until that's done and then stop.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Got a new panel on, and hope that this one works better than the old one.
We call it re-zeroing the winch. So what they have to do is pay out the cable, get it back to a location we have marked on the drum that you physically know is zero.
It's a mess up here.
At that time, they can re-enter that zero mark as the reference point for the winch to operate, and then they just spool the winch back up.
I know what caused this little thing.
Was it the docking?
No.
What was it?
A loop must have formed on the cable reel when we did the fat slow up or whatever.
Okay.
And this whole thing was stopped by the actual cable reel.
Oh, got it.
There's a big fucking knot in the cable reel.
Okay.
I have 19 winches if they have to re-zero one. That's gonna, it's just gonna happen.
So you're gonna take the knot out of the reel, try to undo the rat's nest, tie the rope to the 3 lines, and then I'll pull down while motion lets it in?
Yeah, let's get there when we get there, though.
All right, standing by.
We're trying to get everything right when the band shows up because, we want them to see the best we can give them.
You never have enough time to program a show. You never have that time to play with the palette. It's like the palette's here, now you have to make the painting. And there's a million ways that you can do that, and you usually do it by trial and error, and that will lead up to the first show, because a lot of the people will go home. That's not to say that during the entire tour, that content and that direction and that palette won't be continued to be worked on, but it will not be worked on with the same fury that it's worked on here this week. So this is the crunch week. This is an organization that's been together for a very long time, and there's an incredible amount of loyalty. The backline guys have been doing this forever, and they're some of the best in the business. And Bon Jovi works a lot. I'm actually surprised that we're sitting here now getting ready to do this after it just doesn't feel like it's been that long since we did it the last time. He's pretty passionate about his show. He is incredibly involved in just about everything. He's involved in the artistic decisions of how his show is perceived by the audience, and he's driving the boat here.
I'm always open to ideas, even if they fail, which right now, this one might be failing. They've got 2 more days to get their act together around here.
Going to rehearse. John will see, content updates, be able to see, the flow of the show updates. And basically the goal is by Friday, we're 100% ready to go for the show on Saturday.
Sooner is the lighting director, meaning that she will operate the board and control the show on every single show throughout the tour.
So if the wall is closed, you don't want anything that's going to interfere with the projection. There's certain content on the video wall that's going to be used for certain songs, and we want to make sure that all of the lighting complements that.
It's quite a science to actually figure out what that content's going to be, how it's going to scale into that shape, and how it's going to move with the mechanical objects that are moving during the show.
I'm sure it's going to exceed most people's expectations, but us, we always feel like it's never quite done, but we know that probably over the course of 5 or 6 shows, it's probably going to be the show that we really thought it was going to be on the first show.
But he can pop right up in the middle.
We find things out when we least expect them to happen.
Everything seemed fine. I was going to look for other people to man the e-stop buttons and be on the lookout for just such an occasion. And turned my eyes for 2 seconds and I heard everybody running around. And I walked around and I saw the big light dangling back and forth. Drama.
Yesterday, the cable got fouled in the winch. This time it was one in particular line that snapped, and Ben had to walk the trusses a little bit to get out to it.
They had thought that they blocked it out in their program, but they addressed the wrong number to it. And so when they handed controls over to lighting didn't know it was blocked out. They sent a signal, it went, and it wasn't ready to go, and it spooled and dropped.
After it's secured, we lower it to the deck. Ben actually has to climb back up through the air on his ascenders and clean up all the cable.
When you're up in the grid, you gotta go slow because your life safety is in your own hands. So each step is calculated, don't rush, get it done.
And the timing always happens like that. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but it wasn't but 2 seconds that it happened and he's on stage. I mean, it's Murphy's Law proven. right there.
And thankfully it was done without an interruption to rehearsal.
Once we get on the road, we want to hopefully not have those sort of issues, because that's when the boss isn't very happy.
John, I think, spends an incredible amount of time with the design, with the show, producing the show, because it's an extension of him, his band, and the music. And I think that you can tell at the end. I mean, you can tell that he's got his mark on it.
The inspiration for the design is transformation and evolution, right? So the idea is to create a show where you walk in the room and there's absolutely nothing there. Throughout the night, that gives you the ability to completely change the look and feel of the environment, not only just with video and projection, but with actually objects coming in and out and flying.
We work pretty closely with him on these shows because we're the ones that have to figure out how to make this thing work. And this one there were some serious problems to solve, which I think we're still solving right now.
That whole wall, in a snap of a finger, dissolves. It's two parts, it goes up and down. And I mean, 4 seconds, that whole thing is gone. Because there's 5,000 people that sit back there tonight. That's not a brick wall back there. You know, we sell all those tickets. So you have to keep it interesting for the 3/4 of the venue, incorporate those people in the other quarter of the venue, and, you know, make sure that you're spending enough in technology to keep up with everyone else that's out in the marketplace.
You can try as hard as you can, but you will not get the same experience sitting behind the stage as you will sitting in front of the stage. But they will certainly have every element of the show in front of them. Sometimes it'll be in front of them more than they want.
It's ugly out there. 4 inches of snow. Into the world. Snowmageddon. Oh no.
Nemo is taking over. We're just going to stay the course and, you know, see who shows up or wait until the governor shuts down the state, and then we'll go from there.
You know, the storm hasn't really hit yet. So tomorrow will be another day. Storm is over, and I'm sure the state of Connecticut can clear their roads.
If it's 2 feet of snow or more, they shut down the roads because they can't clean them fast enough. We can't get out of here, then I guess that's a bigger problem than what time we get to DC. But I have a feeling it'll be fine. You know, these things are never as bad as they think they are.
We've played in torrential downpours, wind, desert conditions. This is the first time it affected the show that I can remember.
The actual show night has been postponed till October 25th. State emergencies coming from the governor, etc. So John is doing something very nice for the fans in the building, and he's going to put on a free show for them. Doors are in 20 minutes, so I got to go. Seriously.
This is the first time I ever remember a show being canceled.
Don't lose it. You're passing in and out.
We have a beautiful new stage, and if you notice, I can go this far away. Sometimes I can go this far, so I go this far.
Every time we come out, it's a new production. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that make it work.
Come see us. We love you. Mwah.
Welcome to a snowy Saturday afternoon. Not exactly the way I anticipated our kicking off the tour. And I want to thank every one of you for coming here to Mohegan Sun yesterday and the day before and camping out in the hotel. There was no way I was going to let them pack up the trucks and get them ready to go down to DC unless we played for you.
Soldier, but I'm here to take a stand because we can.
Really, thank you very much for coming, sitting this storm out, knowing that we weren't going to let you down. Next stop, Washington, D.C. What About Now? The World Tour starts now. Good night.
I thought the show was good. I mean, we didn't have the video, but I thought the show was still fabulous. It looked good. It sounded great. Yeah, I think once we get the video in the mix 100%, we should have something pretty spectacular.
When we sat in our final decision process, everybody, the designer, Spike, Winky, and Adam, all were very scared by this prospect. And that's what's good. When you're really frightened and scared about what you're about ready to say you can do, knowing you can't do it, but you're going to figure it out, that's when you know you got something that's great. Providing, of course, it works. Because if it doesn't work, well, then you should have used the other idea.
What do you want to say? Yay, good show, yay! On to Washington.
For this run, we're gonna do this horrible overnighter to Washington, which will suck. And it's a 500-mile drive, and it's nasty. After the show in Washington, we're gonna get everything to go back to the shop on Monday and Tuesday afternoon before it goes to Montreal, so that we can give it a nice final tweak of things that we've learned here by cycling it, and things that we've learned may be a problem later. You can fix the things that were a problem, and you can fix the things that you think might be a problem. And we'll have a truck leave on Tuesday afternoon and take it to Montreal for the load-in. So it's really nice that we get one more day to massage the stuff in the shop, because you can see how hard it is to do stuff on the road.